Hey, Steve Mignani here doing the Junkyard Crawl at Bernardston Auto Wrecking in Bernardston, Massachusetts with a 1952 Ford Mainline four-door sedan. Now, 1952 was the first year for Ford's first upgrade or facelift of the revolutionary 1949 through 51 envelope styled body, new in the post-war era. And envelope styling means they got away from the bolt-on pontoons and exposed running boards to a true envelope body where the fenders were flush with the wheels, the interior got wider, no need for a pinched interior anymore. And again, 1952 was the year they upfaded that or facelifted that with things like a one-piece curved windshield, sunken headlights, and believe it or not, 1949, 50, 51, Southern California customizers, guys like Sam and George Barris, were creating trends nationwide by shaving chrome off of cars, chopping roofs like chopped Mercuries, and tunneling headlights. And something seen in 52 for the first time are these hooded sunken headlights. And again, this is a styling touch very much emulated from Southern California customizers who would sink the headlights. 1951 Ford, this ring wouldn't be here, the headlight would stick out farther. So basically, Southern California hot rodding absolutely trickled its way toward Detroit and influenced styling. Now in this one here, we do see a V8 logo here on the front fender. And let's keep in mind that in 1952, a total of 672,000 Fords were built. 672,000, while only 50,000 had a six-cylinder engine. The rest of them had the flathead Ford. Let's see if it's here. In other words, V8 power was the rule at Ford. And okay, somebody snagged it. This would have been the 110 horsepower, 239 cubic inch flathead, and again, it would be gone in 54. So 53, the next year after this would have been the final year for the flathead. 1954 brought the overhead valve V8 engine with the rocker arms, push rods, actual intake and exhaust ports in the heads, free breathing engine, two-barrel carb, eventually a four-barrel. The flathead was obsolete, but again, it would have been found right here, but no more. Now we notice here, first year, for this heater arrangement right here, and we can see right here, this is an electric fan. There's a little bird cage inside of that, and this would blow air into the car after it was heated from passing through the heater core down here. So all of this stuff exposed. This eventually would make its way into the car. With that said, here we have 1952, first year again for the facelifted envelope body style. Gotta love the chrome bumpers, the central Ford spinner, which was seen first in 49, but still very much in play. And from year to year, the stylist would evolve the shape and form of the central round region here, but we see it here again in 52. Another thing that was new for 1952 was what we call the flying toaster. This went about 3 model years. This thing right here, which runs down the side of the car, kind of looks like either a steaming locomotive, an Art Deco powerhouse charging into the future, the rear wheel driving it forward, or a flying toaster. You decide. But again, 52, first year for this little styling flourish, if you will. Now this one here is a four-door sedan. There were hardtops in 1952. They were just beginning to come on, the Victorias, two-door cars where there's no pillar, but this ain't one of them. Inside of this one, well, here it is, a fairly luxurious interior, but we noticed with the envelope body from 49 up, the front and back seats could finally fit 3 people across. In 48, when the body was narrower and the fenders and were bolt-on, it would only be about a tough 3-person seat, but this is a full 6-passenger car. And we have some goodies right here. This car is a 3-speed manual. This looks to be the bell housing right here. This thing right here is where the 3-speed manual transmission would have bolted behind the flathead Ford, and this monstrous thing right here made out of cast iron would have coupled the engine to the transmission. Crazy stuff. Oh, something else right here. This is cool. Motor Trend, June of 52. Do I hear a whining sound? Canceled? What do you mean we're canceled? Anyway, this is a story on the Ford flathead V8. And it says here, if Detroit won't do it, why don't you? So you own a Ford. It's about time you benefited from the decades of work of the world's largest core of experimental engineers, the hot rodders. This is a story about the Ford V8. To get more fun and more economy out of your car, Southern California hot rodders were the men and boys who did it, and they're still probing the potentialities of this rugged little engine. And it says here, it was the appearance of the high-output, fast-revving Ford V8 in 1932 that gave the enthusiast an inexpensive power plant that packed a real punch and can be made to deliver knockout performance after a little work. This is Motor Trend in 1952, acknowledging the reality that people like Vic Edelbrock Sr., the Offenhausers, all kinds of companies are done. You know, of course, Arcus Duntov are done, him and his brother, overhead valve Hemi conversions for Ford flatheads. The Ford flathead was really the main engine for hot rodding, and Motor Trend's acknowledging it, kind of cool, in 1952. But again, we go around this one here, we see the wraparound rear window glass, and again, wraparound glass was a revolutionary concept pre-war. This would have been something seen on an airplane. Well, now it was common stuff on passenger cars. This one does have classic signs of New England life. We can see somewhere along the line, the quarter panel was so rotten that aluminum was formed to replicate the original body lines and screwed in place. Probably done sometime in the 60s, maybe the 70s, hard to say. And in the back here, we can see a trailer hitch. Kind of interesting to see this right here. Somebody probably pulled a small trailer. And again, this trailer hitch here bolts to the bumper, so it's not going to pull too much mass. Maybe a 800-pound trailer at the very most. But inside the deck lid, yeah, okay, a bunch of interesting stuff. The bottom side, this looks like Ford's dark dove gray. It's not black, that's the original, but look at this, the original sticker on how to mount and stow the spare tire right there. Look at that, that thing has survived since 1952, and so has the jacking instruction sticker right here. If only the rest of the car could be this well preserved. Interesting stuff. You never know what you're going to find in the trunk of a car. This is not the original air cleaner to this car. This looks like maybe from a truck, perhaps an International. United Oil Bath Air Cleaner. This is an aftermarket air cleaner or something supplied probably to International Harvester. It's not from this car. But with that said, all kinds of weird stuff. But this is Ford at 50. Now this car is a 52. 1 year later, in 1953, Ford became 50 years old, and they celebrated with this, Ford at 50. And it's basically a story about the birth of Ford, Henry Sr., and Edsel, etc. And just an interesting read about how roads and highways went from dirt to the inner city after World War II, and basically drive-in movies, and how the automobile became part of our everyday life, more than just a car. We got cops, hot rodders, restorers, kind of a cool thing. And of course, everything in this is a Ford product, because we can't be promoting anything else, can we now? It's just Ford, for Christ's sake. Anyway, here is the original story of Henry Ford tinkering with his cycle car. Henry Ford, 1896. Clara, his wife, patiently sitting back, waiting for him to become the billionaire that he'd become. And of course, the factory, the Rouge, the River Rouge plant, this is still there. They build the Ford F-Series trucks at the River Rouge. You can actually take the plant tour and walk through the Rouge. It's astonishing to see what's going on. This is the rolling mill, and just astonishing. You gotta think, these people are not wearing masks. Yeah, different times, no OSHA. You hope these people live long, healthy lives. But again, the assembly line right here, wonderful. When I was a kid, I had a copy of this book. I was probably 9, and this picture here just ignited my mind, and how cars go from the frames, the engines, the bodies, they all merge and come together on final assembly, and here they are rolling off the line to your driveway. And it took, what do we have, 0 hours. In the beginning it was 1 hour and 58 minutes, so every 2 hours a new Ford was being produced in 1953. And again, just an astonishing thing. A great book this. You can find these, they're not that hard to find. And of course, the stylists, you know, of course, every single year a new car has to come out. And you gotta love this right here, a look at the future stuff, the guys working in clay, the illustrations on the wall to keep them motivated. Looks like maybe the Lincoln Continental right there, 56, coming together 3 years before the fact. Kind of maybe, could it be? There's the roof. So a little glimpse into the future. And just an amazing thing, this Ford at 50. So again, the Ford, you know, America's, one of their oldest car makers. I think Oldsmobile goes back farther than Ford did. And of course, Dodge grew out of Ford. The Dodge brothers in 1914, Henry Ford used to buy castings from the Dodge brothers. They actually had a plant as early as 1908. I think they made cast iron transmission housings, axles, and Henry Ford was their biggest customer. But apparently Henry wasn't so good at paying his bills, so the Dodge brothers revolted, set up Dodge brothers making cars in 1914 and took on Henry Ford. So Henry Ford really just launched 1,000 ships, literally and figuratively. And this Ford right here, one of 672,000 built in 1952. And again, only 50,000 had the six-banger. The rest were V8s right like this. A lot of them were hopped up by hot rodders. So that's the story of 1952 and how the first generation Ford envelope body got a facelift for the first time to give it a little more life until the really modern stuff came out in 1954. Now, if you like this video, be sure to subscribe to the Steve Mag's YouTube channel. Give us a like, share it with your friends. And by all means, hit the bell so you know when the next video comes out, which is tomorrow morning.